Here is it's Robert Smith from The Cure. Welcome on my show.
Thank you very much.
I'm very pleased to have you.
Thanks.
Quite a time ago, you wanted to leave The Cure behind, and now you're back. Do you regret anything, like festivals?
No, I never do anything that I regret, actually. There isn't a single thing in my life that I regret.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you do that then?
Because I always act totally on instinct.
Yeah.
I never think too much about decisions. I always just do what feels right, and it usually is.
I understand. And if you actually make something that you maybe call a mistake, it was still out of your tummy a right decision at that time.
Yeah, and I think when I was planning to end The Cure with the trilogy film, it was a plan. And when I reached 2003, I kind of felt in my heart that I didn't really want to stop.
Yeah.
So I didn't consider that part of it when I made this plan. So I thought, well, also Ross Robinson, the American record producer, arrived on the scene around that time and kind of got in touch with me, and I felt it was too good an opportunity to miss, really, to work with him. So, I mean, once I made the decision to do another Cure album, I felt really good.
Yeah. But you know these people who actually run around all their life saying, oh shit, I made this mistake and I have to take care I don't make any mistakes anymore. They don't really love themselves that much. Would you say you love yourself quite a lot?
I think I loathe myself more than any other person in the history of the world, actually, yeah. I'm trapped inside myself. That's like the opening song on the new record is entirely about that. I mean, but at the same time, I have a very fulfilling life. I wouldn't swap it with anyone else's. I just couldn't feel constrained by the limitations of being human, basically. So I don't really want to be anyone else. And I think, I mean, of course I make mistakes. I'm not sure that if you worry about making mistakes, that it means you don't love yourself. Actually, it might well be the other way around, because if you really don't care about yourself, you don't really care if you make mistakes. So in some sense, I feel that there are choices that I've made which were the best choices at the time. But I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, of course you could do lots of things differently, but I never think what would be the best thing to do, even though I don't feel it's the best thing to do. Yeah. And those kind of mistakes I never make.
We just have to explain to the viewers that the loud sound is coming from the hives. They're sort of playing right next to us at the moment.
Just behind the city.
Yeah, exactly. They're very small, the hives are. On End of the World, your voice sounds very, very joyful. And I think that is one big The Cure achievement, having dark songs sounding very joyful.
I think, again, that's Ross's biggest influence on me in the studio was actually pushing me to sing, and to really sing like I'd never sung before. And he was in front of me the whole time, kind of just like willing me to be more and more and more. And so in the past, I think with some of the more upbeat songs The Cure have done, I tend to just sing them as a kind of, I don't know really, a performance, but my heart isn't really in it the same as it is on the melancholic songs. But with these upbeat ones on this record, Ross wanted me to make him smile as I sang. So.
But that sounds, there's all this talk about the producer of the record, Ross Robinson, I'm just saying for the viewers, that he did strange things to you, the band, to get things out of you. Yeah. But it wasn't only mean stuff he did. So it sounds nice when you said he made you smile. It's a very positive thing.
I don't think he did anything mean, actually. I think that he, all the stories about him, which there are many, like that he makes people cry and he drives people to like despair. All he wants is like everything. I say like that's all he wants. It's everything, and he just goes about getting it in different ways. He knows how to get to people. But if you join in with him and you want the same thing as he wants, then it's perfect. There is no conflict. So anything he suggested to me that I should do, I tried it, because I thought, what have I got to lose? So I didn't resist anything. A couple of the band did. They found it very difficult and they resisted the ideas that he had. But eventually we all kind of got together and decided we would just do what he said. And it was a really powerful experience because of that, because I think a lot of people probably waste too much energy fighting for their own ideas, you know. And I mean, I've always had the control over what The Cure do, and obviously I wrote the songs, so, and I'm singing. But on this record, I gave over all the control about all the other facets of what we do to Ross. And I thought, if I can do that, then everyone else should be able to do it.
Yeah. And is it a very good experience giving away this power to someone else?
As long as you know you're going to get it back at the end.
As long as you don't get married with him or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to go on a round-the-world cruise with Ross. I think I'd be a nervous wreck.
I'd like to talk about your voice on this record explicitly again. There's something in Germany, we call it Die Stimme überschlägt sich. So the voice somehow goes beyond the peak, which is not insulting you. You know, I think when it gets really loud or very high, it's like tipping over. Is that something Ross also made you do?
Well, I think that's a combination of two things actually. It's the way that I was singing, because I was singing live. Every song was a performance, and normally I don't do that. And I think the other thing is that the mixes of the songs were very rough. Because when we came back into the control room after a take, Ross would say to me, "How do you hear the song?" And I would just balance it, and he'd say, "Right, that's the mix." So we didn't do a mix, like, you know, and that's normally on pretty much every band in the world mixes their albums, because then you've recorded and then you try and get the balance. But we actually recorded it in a room with the balance right, and so there was nothing to do really. So, and because it was how I hear the band, and I hear my voice very loud because it's inside my head. So the voice is much louder than it's been on any other record we've done. Yeah. But I think it's kind of confrontational in some songs, but in other songs it's very intimate as well. So I think it works. I mean, I really like the sound of the record. It's very unusual. It's very distinctive, but it still sounds like us. I think Ross did a couple of mixes on his own just to see what I thought of them, and I hated them.
Why? What were they like?
Well, because he was being very experimental, and he was like losing whole pieces of what we'd done. He was like losing the bass drum or getting rid of the guitar, and like the one song just left like a tambourine in my voice, you know. And I think like, well, we've gone through all this. It's like these are kind of remix ideas, you know. But in the end, he was content to let me decide what the balance should be, and he was also content to let me choose the running order and what songs we put on the album, because we recorded an hour and a half's worth of music. We recorded 20 songs, so he was a bit upset right at the very end on the last day when I confirmed what the running order and the song choice was going to be. He was very upset actually, because he thinks the best songs have been left off the record. So,
really? So is that going apart with a strange feeling after such long working together?
No, because I speak to Ross all the time. You know, it was just he knew at the start that I would. It was one of the things we talked about. It's like who chooses what goes in the record, because I knew we were going to record too much, and I knew it wouldn't be a double album. So we'd already kind of like addressed that. But when it came down to it, I think he felt suddenly like he wanted his favourite songs on the record, and he had to kind of give up. So he actually made his own CD of his own running order with his favourite songs. The problem with the songs that we left off for me is that they're so sad. They really are. Like, and there's two of them in particular of the 5 that aren't going to be released in this first week. Are among the saddest songs we've ever done, and I just thought it tipped the album into something much darker. And like he wanted to leave off, I think, Taking Off, and Never, I think, one of the and replace them with some very like these 2 very emotional but very downbeat songs, really slow and really long. And I did listen to his running order, but I just at the end of it I felt really kind of down, you know. And I wanted this record to have a bit more life in it. I wanted it to appeal to people who maybe wary of the Cure, you know. So I wanted it to be more colourful, I suppose.
Yeah. And one question to your voice again. Did you always love your voice? Because do you have to love your voice as a singer?
That's a weird question actually, because when I'd never sung in public until I was 18, I think. I was never at school. I was never on stage. I was always doing the dresses backstage. You know, I hated performing. I really did. And when I first played in the forerunner of the Cure, I was just a guitarist, and our vocalists were just so bad. Every concert we changed vocalists. And after about the 6th or 7th concert, I sang a song. And as soon as I started singing, I really liked it. And then I decided I'd be a singer. So, but at first, like the first couple of years, I really didn't like my voice at all, actually. I hate it on the first record that we made. I really don't like it. Because I tried to turn it into something else. But then by the time we did that second album, I decided I would just sing like I speak. And that's what I've done ever since, really.
Yeah. Did you ever hate your image at any time in your career?
I wouldn't say I've hated it. I think that there's far too much attention is paid to it. I mean, it's a double-edged sword for me. It's like when I kind of as I sort of grew into like having like long hair and like messy hair and started wearing a lot of makeup. I realised that I was creating a character, but I enjoyed doing it, and it made me feel differently when I went on stage, and I still do it. I mean, from time to time, every few years, I shave my head. I've shaved my head 3 times in the last 20 years, and that's when I really hate myself. I really do. I spend like 6 months in total self-loathing because it just doesn't suit the way I am.
Why do you shave the hair?
Well, for a change.
Okay. Because the hair has a very big meaning, of course, on you, and that's why you want to get rid of it sometimes.
I remember the first time I did it, it was like a lead news story on MTV. I mean, it wouldn't happen now, but it was like and I thought, this is so stupid, it was getting in the way. It was like, and even now people will sort of talk about, in a review, they'll talk about, am I still wearing makeup stuff? And I think, what the hell has it got to do with anything, really? I mean, I look a certain way. I mean, I live with someone who likes the way I look, and that's why I continue to look like this. If she didn't, I would change, I don't people often forget that, that if she wanted me to have a shaved head, I'd shave my head. I don't really worry about what I look like. I actually worry less than the person I'm with, because I don't have to see myself most of the time. I see myself like 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night, and 2 minutes before I go on stage, and that's kind of it, so.
Yeah. Okay, but there's also, because one thing I thought you maybe wouldn't like is that lots of people, it's easy, to copy the makeup and stuff. When I saw this morning in the first row in front of the main stage, there are lots of people, have the makeup on. They're the biggest fans waiting there all day for you to go on stage in a minute. And it's strange because it's difficult to put makeup on like David Bowie, but it's easy to put makeup on like you.
You think?
Well, you know what I mean, somehow characterizing it.
I think that there's people like to kind of feel a part of what we do. I mean, it's Cure fans, hardcore Cure fans look a certain way, and so when they see other hardcore Cure fans, they're attracted to them. They know they've got something in common. I mean, the Cure kind of represents almost like a life choice for a lot of people. We're like a band that does things in a certain way, and I've always been very honest about what we do, and even though it's really old-fashioned, we've got a certain integrity, and I think people respond to it. And so by dressing the same, they're actually like just visually showing that they agree with what we stand for. So, I mean, I used to do it when I was younger. I mean, I still do. I don't know, I still look like me, so.
What is the greatest misconception about Robert Smith?
I honestly can't begin to answer that. I mean, there's
many.
Well, I mean, I think people, as with any singer that gets a kind of, you develop a relationship with an audience, people invest you with sort of almost superhuman powers, and the ability to solve problems and understand the way the world works. And I think that's the misconception, that I kind of know more than I do, because I don't. I'm very interested in things, but I don't think I really know that much. And I think it all stems from like the songs that I sing arise out of a certain urge to kind of communicate. But a lot of the time I'm actually a really quiet person. I don't have that urge to communicate. In fact, what I do is I've always found very paradoxical, actually, because it showed the fact that I didn't ever get on stage and perform all the way through until I was like late teens. Yeah. Shows that I'm not a natural performer. Most people who are in bands kind of did things when they were young. They're always running up to the camera and like
singing for their parents.
Yeah, and I absolutely hated having my photograph taken. There's very few photos of me when I was young, So it does seem really quite strange that I've ended up doing such a highly visible thing. I've never been shy. I've always been very self-confident, but I've never been a loud person. So it is kind of weird that I've ended up being a singer.
Yeah. It is very weird, actually. I'd like to talk about these strange things coming up again with Morrissey. All this quotes going around in the British press again, what you used to say about him and he used to say about you and stuff like that. But isn't it strange that there are so many, the Cure fans, who definitely have a Morrissey record at home, and vice versa?
Yeah, I noticed that there's some of the things were researched. I figured that he must have a new record coming out about 6 months ago, because I started to read stories. He's got an active press office, and we haven't. I don't really take any notice of it, actually. I mean, the first time around, he just said a load of horrible things about me, and at one point I just responded, which I probably shouldn't have bothered doing, but I did because I got fed up. I don't mind if people like Morrissey. What the hell does it matter to me? So, I mean, I'm aware that Cure fans like some Morrissey records. I don't personally understand it, but I'm not going to start worrying about it.
Yeah, but it's a very interesting point, actually, the decision to say something back or not, because you can also have that situation on the street. Either you walk away and feel bad, or you say something back.
Well, I responded actually because I was drunk when I did an interview. So it was one of those things I talked about earlier about an instinctive just response.
Yes.
And probably up until that point I thought, well, this isn't worth it because it's going to it will live with me. And then I just sort of, he'd said one thing too many and I just kind of felt, I responded.
The problem is journalists always want you to say the next nasty thing. I don't.
No.
No.
Good, because I'm not going to.
No, I know, you're not going to do anything. You're not drunk.
No.
That's why. After touring this record, what's going to happen?
I promised myself that I wouldn't think beyond the next 6 months, because in the past, whenever we've started to plan for more than 6 months ahead, it starts to eat away at me, and I start to feel slightly trapped.
Yeah.
You know, if I know what I'm going to be doing every day up till Christmas, it's a bit of a weird way to live. So I know that we're playing in America up until the end of August, and then I think we're going to Mexico for a couple of days, and then that's it. After that, I don't know. But in a month's time, I'll probably have to start thinking about what we do after, you know.
Do you go on holiday? I can't imagine you lying on a beach.
I live on the beach, actually.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
What, on a sunny beach?
Well, it's generally not very sunny now because it's in England.
Okay. Okay. But I mean actually sort of holiday, like Palm Beach holiday stuff, you know, what lots of English people do.
No, I've never. I don't actually like the sun that much. I do occasionally go on holiday, but I usually go to places that are green and mountainous, or both.
And did you just say you do like the sun or you don't like the sun that much?
Well, I don't mind sun, but I wouldn't seek out the sun. I don't not go out if it's sunny. But I don't actually go on holiday to like sunbathe.
Yeah.
You know.
I realised that the sun hurts more and more. It's starting to really hurt when you're in the sun for a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever sunbathed actually. I'm naturally really hot. I'm actually a couple of degrees hotter than I should be. There's something terribly wrong with me, I think. But so when it's really hot, I get very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So lying in the sun for me would be a slightly insane thing to do, actually. So I'd probably combust.
This is the final question, I'm afraid. What is the difference between Robert Smith and The Cure?
Well, The Cure's a group, and Robert Smith isn't. That's true. That's why I've never been a solo artist. That's why, if you look, almost everyone else eventually, like, they move out of their group and they become solo artists. And to me, it bespeaks a certain type of character.
Yeah.
And I don't think, really, deep down, I wonder if I will ever take the step out of making music with a group, because for me, that's the whole point of making music, is with other people. I don't like the idea of being a solo artist. It's drawing attention to myself. I've kind of hidden within The Cure in a way. If it was called Robert Smith and The Cure, I would feel like a much more public person than I actually am. You know, the fact that I'm just a member of the band, albeit the singer and the most highly visible, I can still pretend to myself that I'm not that person sometimes.
It sounds like cheating on yourself a little bit, because so many people would say Robert Smith is The Cure and The Cure is Robert Smith, which you would hate people saying probably.
It's kind of like cheating, but I'm so stupid that I trick myself.
I thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you.